Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, we're going to be previewing the big matches coming up on the weekend over there in the EPL. And joining me this evening to preview these matches and to talk some EPL football, we have returning to the podcast, Christoph.
Good to be back, viewers.
Yes, Christoph, another weekend filled with EPL action, a number of big games coming up. And of course, there was action over there in the Champions League as well. Before we dive into the EPL, let's just rewind, Christoph, and look at those results over there in the Champions League, especially among those English teams. Arsenal getting another big win under their belt. Liverpool, Salah-less Liverpool, going to Italy and picking up a massive victory, a victory which was needed by this team. And of course, Chelsea going down to an Italian team as well. But talk to us, Christoph. Arsenal, what did you see in that game from an Arsenal perspective? Number of players returning back to form.
Um, from an Arsenal perspective, you would be happy to get the win, get the 3 points, and they continue their 100% record in the Champions League. Obviously you'd be happy that a couple of players, Martinelli and Madueke, scoring some goals, but for me personally, I was not impressed with what I saw. I think it was more a case of Club Brugge being so poor. I didn't think Arsenal played well, in my opinion. For example, Club Brugge left, especially in the first half, there was a lot of space to exploit behind their backline, and really and truly, there wasn't anybody making runs in behind. Even when there were people making runs, there was nobody kind of attempting to play through balls into those areas, into that space. And to me, it feels like there's a lack of penetrative passing going on. Because when you look at really the first goal, the Noni Madueke dribble or shoot from distance, um, on paper or to the eye test looks like a really good goal.
Yeah,
But
big
then,
goal, man, big goal, goal of the round, I would say.
but that was Bruges' third string keeper, and he was less than 6 foot. So,
Mm.
to it so,
So,
visually it looked like a really good goal, but to me,
well,
rubbish.
visually, it was a really good goal. It was a really big strike from outside there, the 18-yard box as well. But I mean, it's another 3 points for Arsenal, though, Christoph. You have to give
No,
some credit there.
no, but I gave that credit. I said another 3 points good, you keep your 100% record. But I was not impressed with the play that I saw. And right now, Arsenal, to me, Arsenal form right now is down. Right?
Okay,
December, there will be a lot of back-to-back matches every 3 days.
all right.
Um, right now, Arsenal is 2 points at the top. Can't really afford to drop any points. I feel like this Club Brugge game, specifically the first half, should have been a half for you to kind of experiment and see if you can find other ways to score goals. And I think they should probably do the same thing with this Wolves game. First half, experiment, see if you can find other avenues of scoring goals. Second half, you switch back to how you normally play and you get the win if you weren't already winning the game.
Interesting
But
stuff. I would go in the opposite direction. I would play the first half normally and try to secure the victory from then. And then once the victory is secured, then I experiment, but not necessarily experiment first, as you're suggesting. But we'll definitely dive deeper into that game. But Chelsea, Christoph, going down to Atalanta, 2 goals to one, and the Chelsea poor form continues.
not
Uh,
surprising.
Winless in what, 4 or 5 games now, both in all competitions, both in the EPL as well as in the Champions League as well. So that is something to keep an eye on. And then, of course, Liverpool squeezing out a 1-0 victory versus Inter Milan. The first game post the big Salah bust up. And this was a game that Slot needed and that this Liverpool needed in order to boost some confidence as well. And we saw a tactical change from Slot, Christoph. Is this something he may continue into the EPL with, where he utilize a diamond midfield? I think this is the first time I'm seeing that on the slot. And of course, Isak and Eketike started up front with a diamond midfield. four in the middle. What was your impression of that game and that sort of tactical change? Is this the post-Salah Liverpool that we should be looking at going forward?
I don't think that will be the case long term. It could just be a stopgap for the time being. Um, in all honesty, I wasn't particularly impressed by Liverpool in that game. If I recall, it was a rather dubious penalty, in my
Well,
opinion.
it was a dubious penalty and it was a dubious goal being chalked off for Liverpool by the referee as well. So I thought in that game the referee took away one and gave us back one in the same breath. So all in all, I thought it was a fair result, to be honest. I thought Liverpool just about edged it. And what I'm most happy for is the fact that the team managed to keep a clean sheet as well, with not a lot of chances being created and the goalkeeper being called into action. I can only recall one, I wouldn't even call it a big chance, almost like a half chance. It would have been a quality goal if it had gone in. But a
The
header from Lautaro Martinez, which Alisson
oh,
was
okay.
forced into saving. That was the only big chance you could say that Inter Milan created. So I'm happy for the clean sheet. I'm even more happy that it ended in 3 points and it somewhat changed the narrative or quiet the critics, at least maybe only for the moment. We know the weekend is coming up, and if results don't go the way they should, then we may hear some noises again. But all in all, you went for 3 points, you got the 3 points, so one step forward for Liverpool in that sense. But we move, Christoph, and we move to the weekend. We move to the weekend, a number of big games, and the first game on the agenda that we have here is Chelsea versus Everton. That's a big matchup right there. Chelsea versus Everton. This one taking place at Stamford Bridge versus an out of form Chelsea, and you could say a resurgent Everton. What kind of game are you looking at for this one?
I think this will be should be on paper, should be a very tight, cagey game, I think, for Chelsea. Chelsea will obviously not want to drop any more points and kind of stem the run of bad form that they've had in the last 4 or 5 games. Because if I recall, they have no wins in the last four, right? Or five, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, no wins in the last five, I believe.
Right. Everton, on the other hand, have, 4 wins out of the last 5 games. Could potentially be this is potentially really good match for the neutrals. It will be interesting to see, uh, Cole Palmer coming back into the side and see if he will, kind of catch his form back and kind of produce in this game. Or and if my prediction is correct that Cole Palmer will come back into the game, into the side, become the main man, and then again as the main man, you are also single point of failure where you stop Cole Palmer, you stop Chelsea.
Right. Yeah, so pretty much Chelsea, the last win for Chelsea was against Barcelona, Christopher. I believe it was 10-man Barcelona. They were now a 3-0 winners. But since then, they have drawn 1-1 with Arsenal, lost to Leeds 3-1, and then draw with Bournemouth nil last week, and then lost in the Champions League to Atalanta 2-1. So they are, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games without a victory. 5 games without a victory. So this game doesn't come at a good time for them. Everton, on the other hand, have been are resurgent. They have definitely been picking up some points over the last few game weeks, and it will be interesting to see if they can carry on with the sort of form they are in versus a Chelsea team which may be low on confidence at the moment. So it's interesting one. I mean, Everton has lost 1 in 5. Just looking at their history here, Christoph, Everton is coming off a victory versus Nottingham Forest 3-0, and the week prior they beat Bournemouth 1-0. Before that, they did go down to Newcastle 4-1, but then backed that up with a 1-0 win over Manchester United and a 2-0 win over Fulham. So they are, from their last five, they have 4 wins and 1 loss. So they are in pretty good touch, I would say. And while Chelsea would be the favorite in this one, I think Everton has a real good opportunity of leaving Stamford Bridge with 3 points. In terms of your scoreline, Christoph, what says you in terms of your scoreline for this game? What's your call?
Um, I lean towards Everton winning 2-1, but like we said, Everton is probably going into this game in the stronger position, but Chelsea would be probably more desperate for the result, having not won any of the last 5 games that they've played. So I feel like Chelsea will put up strong opposition in this game. But I feel like this is potentially a really, really tight game. I will go with Everton 2-1, but strong possibility of a draw.
Possibly, yeah, that's definitely the possibility that I'm going to work with. I mean, Chelsea sits on 25 points, Everton on 24, just 1 point behind, separated by one position in the table as well. Chelsea currently occupies fifth, while Everton occupies seventh. So this one pits fifth versus seventh. And for me, I'm going to sit on the fence for this one, Christoph. I'm going to go with a draw. As you say, going into this one, I mean, the fact that it's at Chelsea's home should give them a slight advantage, should give them a greater push. But the fact that they're in such a bad run brings Everton into the equation. It should be a tight game. I'm predicting it will be a tight game, but for me, I'm gonna call it 1-1. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw for this game. Now, another interesting game, Christoph, which I have on my radar is Crystal Palace versus Man City. Man City coming off a big win versus Real Madrid over there in the Champions League. And of course, Crystal Palace really riding high in the EPL at the moment. They are up to fourth. So this game pits Man City in second on 31 points versus Crystal Palace in fourth on 26 points. And both of these teams are having a good, strong start to the season. What says you in this one? Does the win over Real Madrid really boost this Man City team going into this game? What says you, Christoph?
Um, so from a Man City point of view, I think that win over Real Madrid will be really moral boosting. But I think from a neutral point of view, um, I think not beating a really, really poor Real Madrid team um would have been really detrimental. Bec- uh, Watching that match, I don't think there was any way that Real Madrid should have gotten anything from it. Even the first goal, the Rodrigo goal, it it uh, it looked like it was a fluke. It looked like potentially a bad cross that he tried to play off as a shot,
Mm. Well,
in
I
my
thought he
opinion.
went for goal, to be honest. I mean, a
I
low shot across the goalkeeper. I thought it was a shot. I don't think he was going for a cross. I think it was a shot. Could the goalkeeper have done better? I'm not sure. It was a pinpoint accurate shot, in my opinion, hitting the side netting. Once you, as a striker, you're hitting the side netting, it's usually very difficult for a goalkeeper to make those kind of saves. So I thought it was a decent goal, to be honest, a decent goal. But Man City rallied from behind and wound up winners come the end of that game. And as you say, it should have been a moral boosting win as well. But over the years, Man City seem to have had Real Madrid ticket, in all honesty. So the victory should not come as any major surprise. But I mean, Crystal
for
Palace
me
is
for
a
me
is a
the
different type of team.
For me, the victory shouldn't come as a surprise because Madrid are in such bad form at the moment.
Well,
Um, Potentially on the weekend, you could probably expect them to lose that game again on the weekend. Um, Crystal Palace, however, is going to be a more robust, physically demanding game, and Man City, especially coming off of midweek, and potentially we're expecting a majority of that starting lineup to then start again at Crystal Palace. Not sure how that will figure into the game. I think, however, Erling Haaland, Man City will get the win. I think I'll go with a 3-1 win for Man City.
3-1 win for Man City.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. Crystal Palace has had the ticket for these big teams over the period. I mean, Liverpool went there and got defeated since this season.
Crystal Palace
Ah.
definitely have Liverpool ticket, but I don't know about the rest of the big teams.
Well, that is true. Well, didn't Crystal Palace take care of business versus Man City in the FA Cup to win that FA Cup that they won last season as well?
Man City was in poor form for majority of last season.
Hmm. This one is a tough game. I don't think we should go by what the name of the teams on paper, but it's hard to see beyond Man City, nevertheless, to be honest. I'm hearing that the Crystal Palace left back Munoz is also out for this game, and he is one of Crystal Palace's main attacking threats, playing that left wing back position. So he is out. So that may create a little disruption in that Crystal Palace team. So for that reason, Christoph, I am also gonna go with a Man City win, but I think it will be a closely fought game, and I'm gonna go with Man City 2, Crystal Palace nil for that one. So Man City to win, 2 goals to nil away from home. But a number of other interesting games are on show, Christoph. One of the bigger derbies we have in English football is Sunderland versus Newcastle. Sunderland at home versus Newcastle. And, this game pits Sunderland in ninth versus Newcastle in 12th. 1 point
Newcastle.
separate
I'm
these two
sorry.
teams.
Sunderland. Sunderland.
Sunderland is the call off the bat,
Sunderland is the call after but only because Newcastle has just played a Champions League game.
and they're
And
playing away
so
from home.
and they're playing away from home. So far this season, every time they've had a Champions League game, they have failed to get the win on the weekend. So I'm going
I,
with
I
Sunderland.
I fully concur with that point as well, and I would definitely continue following that trend. So Sunderland to get a result as well. Sunderland to win versus Newcastle. As I said, the trend is there. Anytime
Right.
Newcastle plays a Champions League game and the following weekend it's a game away from home, they have failed to win. And I think this will be the same on the weekend as well, especially because this is also such a big derby match. Oftentimes they say form goes through the window, but playing at Sunderland for most teams have become a cauldron, so again, it should be a raucous atmosphere, probably even more hostile than when a team like Arsenal or even Liverpool plays there. This is their local rivals. They are welcoming to the Stadium of Lights. So yeah, I can definitely agree with that call as well. I am gonna go Sunderland to win 2 goals to 1. Christoph is my call. What's your call for it in terms of a
Uh,
scoreline?
I think I like that call, 2-1, but I think I'll go with 3-1 or
3-1 to
3-2.
3-2. Wow. Okay.
Right.
I see. I see. All right. Well, let's quickly run through the remainder of the fixtures, Christoph. A quick fire run through the fixtures. Liverpool versus Brighton. Liverpool at home versus Brighton. Will Salah start, Christoph? This is Salah's potentially last game before he goes after the AFCON. Will Salah start? Will he be brought back into the fold, or will it be uh, Salah's departure, not only to the AFCON, but from Liverpool in general?
Um, I definitely don't think he should start. You you could potentially say he was punished by not being brought into the squad to play Inter Milan. But also, he did go onto Instagram or Twitter, whichever, to post that he was in the gym and available. So, I think punishment should continue and he should not get into the squad, to be honest, because
So that being said, what's the scoreline you're looking at?
actually I lean towards Brighton or a draw. I wasn't fully convinced by Liverpool at Inter. You'd say that, Inter did not necessarily create a lot of great chances, but I'm not sure how good Inter Milan really is, to be honest.
True, true, true. Well, for me, I think this will be a turning point in the Liverpool season, Christoph. I think this is just the sort of, what should I say, kick up the backside that Liverpool needed, for want of a better word. Uh, this gives them something now to gel and galvanize as a team and realize their full potential on the slot. with Salah out, it does give the coach less headache as well. He can now play the team which offers the best balance for Liverpool also while attacking as well as defending. Because as I said from the start of the season, attacking has not been Liverpool's problem. Liverpool's problem has been defending. Liverpool isn't short on goals. Each game they are scoring, but in the same breath, they are giving up a lot of chances and are conceding as well. So if they can fix the defensive leakage which has been taking place, the offense will come into its own, finding that right balance between attack and defense. And I think with the fallout of Salah, which as you say should continue, I think he will not start or play in this game as well. I think this marks the end of Salah's association with Liverpool, in all honesty, Christoph. I don't see any way back in for him. I could be wrong. He is a good player, off form at the moment, but in terms of attitude, age, and you could say relationship with the manager, I am always going to side on the side of the manager. The manager is in charge, and the sort of respect has to be afforded. Otherwise, it's going to be chaos. It's going to be chaotic. Questions will be asked as to who is in charge of this team, who is in charge of this club. So, Slot as a manager has to stamp his authority. And what better way of stamping your authority than getting rid of the talisman, which has been Mohamed Salah over the last decade for Liverpool, you could say. So, I don't see any way back for him. I think this marks the end of Salah's association with Liverpool, and the AFCON can't come too soon, which would kind of slide that issue to the side, and Liverpool can get on with the business of football while he's away on international duties, and possibly making a transition in the January window. I'm hearing he's heavily linked with some of those Saudi teams. So that might very well be the way Salah goes for Liverpool. But as it relates to this game, Christoph, all of that being said, how do I see this game? I can see nothing other than a Liverpool victory. It will be a very close win or a close game, but at Anfield with the fans G'd up potentially. I'm not sure what the atmosphere will be. I'm not sure what the perspective of the Anfield crowd will be. I think the Anfield crowd will stand with the manager, to be honest. As much as they love Salah, I think they love Liverpool, the club, more. So I think the fans will stand on the side of the manager and have the full support behind the team. As well as, I mean, Liverpool has a number of leaders within that squad. You have Van Dijk, you have Soberslai, who is the captain for his team. You have Alisson, who has been a long-standing member. You have Robertson, who is the captain of Scotland. So you have a number of players within Liverpool who are captain for their international team. So there is strong leadership among that squad. And I am sure they will look on, see what is going on, and really rally this team. So I think the team will rally and will eventually get a win over Bournemouth. Again, it will be closely fought. I do believe Liverpool will concede, but I'm going to go with a 2-1 win in favor of Liverpool. What says you?
I think it will be a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. Interesting call there. But we move. And the next game on the agenda, Christoph, is Burnley versus Fulham. What's your quick call on that one? Burnley versus Fulham.
Potential for a draw, but I think Fulham will win too, and I think Fulham have just enough to beat Burnley.
I'm gonna take your initial call and say draw for this one. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw in that game. Then we have another interesting game. First versus last, Christoph. Arsenal versus Wolves. Routine Arsenal win, I would suppose.
On paper, should be a routine Arsenal win, yes.
But in reality, it should be a routine Arsenal win as well.
In reality, it should be the same. But like I said, I feel like Arsenal has dipped
But
at the
what is
moment,
your
and
call though, Christoph? That being
I
all of that being
I
said, what's the
still
call?
I still give Arsenal the win. I think it will just be
Arsenal
a
has to
difficult
win.
win.
Come on. First
I
versus last. Come
I
on,
think
man.
I just think it will be they will make it harder than it needs to be for themselves. So I think
This is
Arsenal
a
will win
no-brainer, man. This
2-0.
is an easy 4-0 for Arsenal.
And
Easy walk
honestly,
in the park.
I think it will only be like a 2-0.
Also, this is closer to 6-0 than 2-0 in my opinion. So I'm gonna go in between. I'm gonna go 5-0 to the Arsenal. This is the game where you can secure the game by halftime and roll out the subs in the second half. Pull off Saka at 60, pull off some of your more fragile players at 60 minutes and give the rest of the squad a run out. This is the perfect game to rest some players after the victory is secure and give some fringe players a run. This is should be an easy walk in the park. I'm going 5-0 to the Arsenal in this one. Then we also have Forest versus Tottenham. Forest versus Tottenham, Christoph. This one taking place on Sunday. So we have looked at all the Saturday games. This one is Sunday. Forest versus Tottenham.
Where is that at Forest?
At Forest, that's right.
Uh, I think Tottenham still have a little more quality. They've dipped recently in terms of how they've been playing, but I think they're probably this is probably a game for them to pick themselves up. So I would go with Tottenham to win 2-1, 2-0.
Tottenham to win 2-1, 2-0. And I do believe Forest should have played a game, Christoph, over there in what
Europa
was it?
League.
Yeah, or the Conference League. They did, yeah, the Europa League. They did get a 2-1 win over, is it Eintracht? So they won that game 2-1. So they are coming from Europe. Spurs did, of course, win their game in Europe as well. So these are two teams which have done the hard miles in two away games in Europe. So this should definitely be an interesting watch. Hard to say. So because it's so hard to call, I'm gonna call it down the middle, Christoph. I'm gonna go for a draw. I'm gonna
Draw.
go for a 1-1 draw between these two teams. Two tough games in Europe, both getting two victories, but neither team really firing on all cylinders. I think if you probably offer both managers a draw at the start of the game, they would both take it. So I'm gonna call this one a draw. So Forest versus Tottenham, my call for that is a 1-1 draw. Then we have West Ham versus Aston Villa. West Ham versus Aston Villa, Christoph. Can Aston Villa back up their win over Arsenal with a win
You mean
away to
Aston
West
Villa?
Ham? Aston Villa is the call.
Yeah, I think Aston Villa will win this one 2-0.
2-0 to Aston Villa. Wow, wow. Ah, hmm, I am not sure. My mind is telling me Aston Villa, but my
West Ham
I'm
is
one
in West Ham is in that relegation zone and struggling. So no,
right, true.
I don't give them a chance in this one.
Mm,
Aston Villa is the inform team.
true, 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 true. All true. All signs point to a Aston Villa win, in all honesty. But I'm not sure. For whatever reason, I am not sure. And because I am not sure, I am gonna go with a draw, Christoph. I'm gonna go with a draw. I think West Ham may dig deep. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm just gonna go with a draw. I'm not sure why my mind is telling me draw, so I'm just gonna follow my mind. I'm just gonna go with a draw for this one. Maybe there's no logical football reason to call a draw. All the signs point to a Aston Villa win, but at some point in time, West Ham, a team as I say battling relegation, will have to pick up some points at some way, somehow. So this may be a good matchup for them in terms of maybe eking out a draw. So I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw in this one. 1-1 draw. Then we also have Brentford versus Leeds. Brentford versus Leeds. Brentford at home versus Leeds. Leeds, of course, coming off a win versus Chelsea and that 3-3 draw versus Liverpool in their last game. They now play away to Brentford. What says you?
Sorry, who?
Brentford versus Leeds?
Brentford.
Brentford is the call. What's the scoreline you're giving for this one?
1-0.
1-0 to Brentford. Whoa, I think
1-0 to
this is gonna
Brentford.
be a high scoring game.
I don't know if it's gonna be a high score. It's gonna be a really, really tight game, and I feel like it's potentially a very tight 1-0. Like, potentially somebody either gets a one goal early and defends it out or get one late winner. Uh, I think
Whoa,
this is a
I'm gonna go in the opposite direction from you. I think this is gonna be a high scoring game. I think Brentford may very well get maybe a 3-1 or a 3-2 win over Leeds. Yeah, that's my call. I'm going in the opposite direction in terms of the scoreline. You're saying close game. I'm saying it's gonna be a goal fest. You know, three plus goals in this one. So for me, I'm gonna call this one 3-1 to Brentford. 3-1 to Brentford is my call. You're also calling a Brentford win, but you're saying maybe a 1-0 Brentford win.
1-0 Brentford.
1-0 Brentford. And then the final game on the agenda, Christoph, this game comes up on Monday and it pits Manchester United versus Bournemouth. So Manchester United versus Bournemouth.
Mm.
Manchester United on 25 points. Bournemouth sitting in 13th position on 20 points. Bournemouth started the season very hot, but since then they have really cooled off. They play this one away to Manchester United. So United is at home. What's the call for this game?
I think I will go in United to win 3-1, just following their trend of relatively good performances of late, and their form is up, especially in comparison to last season and even the beginning of this season. So United to win 3-1, you know, them to
Yeah,
get a
definitely.
back-to-back win.
Yeah, I would lean towards the side of United as well, only because Brentford farm has been so horrendous of late, in all honesty. Also, the fact that United would have seen the result over the weekend and know exactly what they need to do in order to maintain pace up at the upper half of the table. So, for that reason, the fact that they're at home, they would have seen what transpired over the weekend, and the fact that Brentford has really dropped off. They have really cooled off tremendously. I thought they would have been one of the surprise teams, but they have leveled out. The deficiencies are now showing up, Christoph, in terms of the players they would have lost last season. That entire defense was decimated. It's a brand new, you could say, back four, so to speak. From goalkeeper to centre backs to wide players, it's a complete. And I think that inexperience, that quality which they have lost, is now showing up, and they have balanced stuff in terms of the results. So I think that will continue in this game, and I also give the edge to Manchester United. I am gonna call this one 2-1 to Manchester United. Brentford has enough firepower. Maybe that fellow uh, Semenyo may get on the score sheet, but I think United will have too much and we'll see off this Brentford team with another victory. So for me, for that one, I'm calling that game 2-1 in a win for Manchester United. But Christoph, any final thoughts as we wrap up this preview show? Any final thoughts as it relates to the weekend coming up? What are you most looking forward to seeing?
Um, yeah, potentially some upsets. Um, there could be a couple of interesting games for the neutrals. That United game should be interesting for neutrals as well as the Chelsea game. Um, just looking forward to those non-Arsenal games, to be honest. I want to
Ah,
see what the other teams are doing. Definitely want to see Liverpool. I think it will be a draw game. I think it will be a very interesting game. Let's see, the form of a Danny Welbeck versus, Hugo Ekitike, so to speak.
yeah, I think this weekend is a weekend of answers. A lot of answers will be answered this weekend. There's a lot to be answered, and I think this weekend will provide those answers. The Liverpool situation, Salah, Slot, results, that's a big narrative right there. Man City, can they keep pace with Arsenal versus a very good Crystal Palace team? That's another answer. It should be business as usual over there at Arsenal, but as you say, potential upset. I don't see it, but we have seen it before, but I don't think there's gonna be any upset over there at Arsenal. I think it will just be a routine win. Chelsea, can they bounce back or will the poor form continue? So there's a lot of questions, and I think this weekend will provide us with the answers to that question. So for sure, it's another weekend of EPL football to really look forward to, Christoph. And of course, the World Cup is also lingering in the background come the summer as well. So if you haven't gotten your tickets as yet, viewers and subscribers for the World Cup, you need to start looking into securing your tickets, secure your hotel, secure your lodgings, because if you wait, you will be paying an arm and a leg for those tickets closer to the event. But for sure, lots of football to see. But viewers, subscribers, thank you again for tuning in to us here on Beating the Press podcast. Again, I ask that you continue to support us by hitting the like button. Leave us your predictions in the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed as yet, hit that subscription bell. Of course, if you are a subscriber, then please share the podcast with your family and friends. Our objective is still right there. We're hoping to get to 500 subscriber by Christmas. So do us a huge favor. Give us an early Christmas gift by sharing and subscribing to the podcast. But as per usual, that's all the time we have. This is Rafa signing off.